Please take a seat. I'm just going to ask you a few questions. To start out, I would like to get some basic information from you. So, can I get your full name? Okay. And how old are you? Okay. Have you ever been to a sleep clinic before? Have you ever seen a sleep therapist? No? Okay. And what do you hope to accomplish through this meeting? Better sleep. We hear that a lot. Okay. So when you say better sleep, do you mean longer sleep? Do you mean deeper sleep? Do you want to have an easier time falling asleep? All of the above. Okay. Okay, perfect. So, is there anything you can think of right off the bat that might be keeping you from getting the best sleep? Lack of Xanax. Oh, okay. You're hoping to get a buttload of Xanax. Before we prescribe drugs, we do try and help this naturally. Drugs can lead to a vicious cycle when it comes to sleep, so that is pretty much a last, that is going to be our last priority. Wait, where are you going? No, I promise we can help without the drugs. I do. Are you just here to get Xanax? No? Oh, okay. Okay, well, I am going to ask you some questions just about your daily life, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of why you are not getting the best sleep. So, what does a typical day look like for you? Okay. Okay, you get up pretty late. Start watching YouTube when you wake up. Okay, interesting. What about on days that you don't, or on days that you do work? You don't work, okay. So, once you're done, actually, how long do you look at YouTube when you first wake up? 2 to 4 hours. Okay, interesting. And then what do we do after the YouTube? Video games. Okay. And how long can that last? 2 to 4 hours. Okay. Well, if you're starting your day at 1 o'clock, that's basically the whole day. Okay. So, when you're trying to fall asleep, what do you think about? Things that you need to get done. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty common one. Sometimes people start to think about all of the things on their to-do list and it becomes overwhelming and it keeps them from sleeping. That's pretty common. Okay. What time do you try to get to bed? Around 1 a.m. Okay. And when you do finally decide to go to sleep, do you just hop into bed and lay your head down? Do you look at videos? Okay. You just lay your head down and try and get some sleep. How long does it take you to fall asleep usually? Okay. About an hour. That's pretty common. When you do finally get to sleep, is it a solid sleep? Do you wake up? You do wake up. Okay. And then you just go back to sleep. Okay. And that's a pattern. Okay. So I am seeing a lot of patterns between you and other patients that we have. That is disrupting your sleep. And tips that we can use to help you fall asleep quicker. The first thing that I'm going to suggest to you, and the thing that works by far the best for every one of our clients, is to get some kind of exercise during the day, whether that's walking, running, weightlifting, or in the best case, a combination of both. This really helps your body to relax at night and fall asleep much faster and get deeper sleep. So, with all this trouble that you're having, I know that working out is actually going to solve a lot of these problems. Maybe you can take an hour out of the YouTube watching or the video game playing and get on a treadmill or lift some weights, walking your dog. I don't know if you have a dog, but getting out and walking your dog for an hour, that's really going to go a long way in helping you fall asleep. Do you get any kind of exercise? No? Okay, that's going to be the number one thing. That's going to help you fall asleep much quicker and get a better quality of sleep as well. Okay. So another thing that I think is going to help is, would you say that your day is typically productive or unproductive? That's okay, go ahead and think about it for a second. Unproductive, okay. So, do you play video games for a living? No? Okay. Yeah, so a lot of the times what we see happening as people try and fall asleep is that they start to think about that dreaded to-do list. They start thinking about all the things that they need to get done, all the things that they didn't get done today that they should have gotten done. We find that if someone can find at least one thing that they were productive in that day and focus on that one thing, it can help kind of drown out all of those other things. We really do recommend a one-by-one approach when it comes to stressful things that you need to get done. When we look at the whole picture of everything we have to get done, it can be quite overwhelming, and often it looks a lot scarier than it actually is. So if you can start to tackle those things one by one, even if you just get one of those things done throughout the day, when you're falling asleep, you can concentrate on that one thing that you did. That's going to release endorphins, and it's going to make you feel good, and it's going to help you to fall asleep much faster and easier. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to recommend to you, it sounds like when it's time for you to go to bed, you jump into bed immediately and try and fall asleep immediately. Does that sound true? Okay, so what we're going to recommend is that you get to bed much earlier than you're actually planning on falling asleep. This takes the pressure off needing to just get right to sleep. And by pressure, I mean when your head hits the pillow and you start thinking, okay, I need to go to sleep. This can be quite counterproductive to actually falling asleep. I know personally I've gotten stuck in that track where maybe it's 1 a.m. and I think, okay, if I go to sleep now, I can get 7 hours of sleep. And another hour passes by and I think, okay, if I get to sleep now, I can get 6 hours of sleep. Once we enter that game that we play, it can be so difficult to fall asleep. So what I'm going to recommend is that you get to bed an hour to an hour and a half before you actually want to fall asleep. This can help the mind just wind down. It can help you just relax. You can think in your head, I don't need to fall asleep right now, but I can just rest. I can relax. This is going to help us to stay out of that cycle of I need to get to bed now, because it puts us in a panic mode and it becomes much, much harder to fall asleep. So I'm not saying that you need to go to bed an hour early every night, but we can start to train our minds and our bodies to fall asleep faster, and eventually you will be able to just put your head on the pillow and just be knocked out. Well, I won't say for sure that that will happen, but your chances will be much, much higher if you use that method. Okay, so another thing that we can recommend is some type of white noise. I know personally I like to put on a fan in the background. Putting on the fan kind of drowns everything out. If there's other noises, maybe you live on a busy highway, this fan can kind of drown out all of that background noise. And what white noise does is it's this constant noise, and our brain actually starts to ignore it. It's kind of how noise cancellation works, where it's playing this note that we can't hear, but it drowns out all other sounds. So if you're having trouble falling asleep because of noise, a white noise object like a fan is going to help you so much. Okay, so does it sound like some of these things might help you? Are you thinking they won't help you? They will, but not as much as Xanax. Okay, well, like I said before, that can be a vicious cycle, so we are definitely not going to recommend that. We would like you to try some of these methods, and if they're not working for you, then we can try and do something else. And if it gets to the point where you do need medication, we can talk about that. Okay. So another tip that I'm going to recommend is to make sure you have clean bedding. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but sometimes we might forget the last time that we changed our sheets. And if you're going to bed in an unsanitary situation, that's going to make it much harder to fall asleep. One of the best feelings is climbing into fresh, warm sheets. It creates this very relaxing feeling, and it's going to be much more conducive to a better night's sleep than some sweaty old sheets that you haven't washed in 2 weeks. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not saying that you do that. I'm just saying that this is really going to help you, should that be the case. Okay. So if you're using all of these tips and you're still having trouble falling asleep, I'm going to recommend that you play some kind of video on your phone right next to your head. You're going to play this very quietly. You're not going to look at it. You're going to close your eyes and you're just going to listen. This could be an audiobook. This could be your favorite ASMR artist. Me personally, I really like to fall asleep to boring history. I'll look up boring history on Rome, Star Wars, cars, and this tip works every time for me. As soon as I close my eyes and I start to focus on the voice telling me these facts, I just get knocked out so quickly. You're just going to want to make sure that it's not at a loud volume, and you're going to want to make sure that you have autoplay off. You don't want videos to continue cycling because eventually they are going to wake you up. So make sure it's a shorter video. If it's 4 hours, you might fall asleep right away, and then 2-3 hours later, the noise might wake you up. We find that to be pretty common. So if you are going to use that method, just make sure that you are not viewing a video longer than an hour. And please make sure autoplay is off. That's going to make such a big difference. Okay. So these are all the tips that I have for you today. I think that they can go a long way. I want to email this to you. Let me get your email address really quick. Okay. I'm going to email these tips to you, and I want you to try them. And then in a week, we will visit again, and we can go over how your sleep has improved, or if it's the same. it's the same, then we can start looking into other methods to help you fall asleep. But I am pretty confident that these things will help you fall asleep if you actually follow them. It should help you fall asleep pretty quickly. So thank you so much for coming in. And we will see you again next Friday. Okay. I wish you the best, and I hope that this week brings some better sleep for you. Okay.